He has been at the center of this debate. He's also one of the no votes today on financial regulatory reform. Senator Corker, as always, appreciate the time.
Good to be with you.
This is not the bill you wanted to see coming out of Congress.
It's not. Obviously I'm disappointed, but, we worked awfully hard to come up with something that we felt would stand the test of time. And, in this environment, politics sort of overtook substance in the end, and unfortunately the bill, in my opinion, doesn't hit the mark.
Falls short. Tell me where you are most concerned about this legislation in terms of the potential harm it could do to the economy, because we've heard that sentiment expressed by your fellow Republicans on the floor.
Generally speaking, we didn't hit a lot of the core issues that created the crisis. So the whole reason for drafting legislation was to address systemic risk and to address the problems that created this last crisis. This bill doesn't address many of those. And then on the other hand, it's a 2,300-page bill that is an overreach in many other areas that are sort of ideology driven. So I think at the end of the day, look, this isn't the worst bill that's ever been written. I'm not going to say that. There are some good provisions in this bill, but the overreaching and the hundreds and hundreds of rulemakings that will be created over the next 12 to 18 months really just sort of create a malaise, if you will, over our financial system. So at a time when we really need to be creating jobs, we have this uncertainty. We're going to have people on K Street and government relations lobbying regulators over the next 12 to 18 months to even understand what this means. To the average American, I think what it means, not those that borrow from huge banks, but the average American that's dealing with community banks, I think this means less credit, and the credit that is available will be more expensive.
What about competition with international banks? You and I were talking earlier. One of the open questions here is about bank capital standards. Will American banks be put at a competitive disadvantage?
It's fascinating on a couple of fronts. A few months ago, the European community rebuked us and said, no, we're not going down your path of continual government spending. We're going to start constraining. Just this week, they're saying the same thing about our financial regulation. They're saying, no, we want to create jobs. We're not going to follow the lead that you've laid out. So it'll be interesting if our banks have different capital standards that put them at a disadvantage. Obviously, they won't be competitive with the international community. So we're going to be having a hearing next Tuesday to sort of download what's happening internationally, but obviously that's of concern. And I know it's of concern to some of the major enterprises here in our country.
All right, let me ask you, you had a hearing today. In the midst of all this, you're considering 3 additions to the Federal Reserve Board: Janet Yellen, Sarah Bloom Raskin, Peter Diamond. They had their confirmation hearing. Are those 3 nominees going to have any trouble with Republicans on the banking committee or on the floor?
I wish we'd had longer today in the hearing. I did have a chance to meet with them personally. My guess is not. I mean, typically, I don't think there will. I still have some questions. I'm going to send some questions in written form and hopefully get responses. And Noah will get responses. But I doubt it, to be candid. I doubt there'll be a lot of problem with them.
All right, and just finally, Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, you take Democrats at their word when they say that's going to be queued up down the line here?
Yeah, we missed an opportunity with this bill, let's face it, to deal with one of the core issues. We've already begun intensive briefings. We want to lay out what we believe ought to happen with these GSEs, and hopefully the climate will be right in 6 months or a year to deal with them. But again, typically when you've got a big bill like this, that is the best time to deal with the core issues that created this crisis. Again, we missed the mark there. We missed the mark in underwriting, and hopefully we can deal with that down the road.
All right. Listen, we got to run. You have to vote in just a moment's time. Senator Corker, appreciate